Welcome to the Coastal Athlete Program, presented by Apex Predator Athletics. Train today, survive tomorrow. Now, live from the shores of Monterey Bay, here's your host, Shep.
Welcome to the Coastal Athlete Program. I am your host, Shep. We are joined today on the line by a buddy of mine from school way back in 2009. He went on to go and complete air rescue school while I ended up going to Surface SAR. So we kind of have covered different ends of the spectrum, and he's currently working in Key West, Florida as a search and rescue swimmer out of an SH-60 platform. Jake Sonnier. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
No, it's Sonnier.
Sonnier. I apologize, man.
It's just French, man. It's cool.
I know. Jake joins us today in Key West. We're really excited because in the past, you guys have really responded well to Drew Rhodes, who's a rescue swimmer for CAL FIRE, and his appearance on the podcast. So we heard what you wanted, and we're bringing you more. So SAR all the way. Let's get it kicked off. Jake, why don't you go ahead and do what we do in the beginning of most military, medical, or professional training schools? Why don't you go ahead and qualify yourself for the audience?
All right, man. Well, my name's Jake. I've been in the Navy for coming up on 9 years in July. Went to school out in Pensacola for rescue swimmer school, and first air crew candidate school and then rescue swimmer school. Then I went to A school, then I went to SEER school out in California, and then I got brought back to Pensacola, Florida, and then went to Virginia for FRAC, which is the Fleet Replacement Air Crew school. We call it the RAG, and that's just figuring out how to fly in a helicopter without falling out, basically. So did that, and that was about 6 months long. Then after that school, I was finished with the pipeline finally. It took about 2 years, and I got my first actual duty station out in San Diego, California at a HSC 23, which is an expeditionary squadron. Then I went on 2 lawn deployments, went on a couple like littler deployments for a total of maybe like a year and 6 months of sea time. And then once that 5 years was up at San Diego, I got shore duty out here in Key West for 3 years, and I've been here for 2 years now, just fishing and working and hanging out with my dog and stuff.
So as those of you who've listened to all of our episodes have probably heard me talk about before, the Navy Search and Rescue Swimmer Program is unique to the Coast Guard program. Most people, when they think about rescue swimmers, they picture the Guardian and that Coast Guard big orange helicopter, conventional form of emergency like life-saving. However, in the Navy, in the helicopter side of the house, you guys still have Sierra and Bravo, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not Bravo anymore. It's Romeo. The Bravo platform is totally out now, so it's just Romeo. But I mean, we have Fox hotels, Romeo, Sierras, all different platforms of the MH-60.
And you are a Sierra, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AWS.
And what's AWS? What makes that? What's unique about that specific line within the SAR designation?
Well, AWS is just it stands for. It really doesn't make any sense, but it stands for Air Crewman Helicopter, basically. So there's 2 different sides of AWS. So 2 different platforms you can fly as an AWS, or 2 different types of actually like completely different helicopters. So the 53 and then the 60. And then your rescue swimmers, which are considered wet crewmen for AWS, flying 60s. And then your dry crewmen that are AWS flying 53s.
Pretty sweet gig.
Yeah, man. Can't really complain.
So you are a Sierra, and since you're in Key West, if you're in Key West or Whidbey Island up by Seattle,
yeah,
those are the only 2 areas that I know of in the continental United States where Navy Search and Rescue has primary over the Coast Guard. Is that correct? In terms of you guys are the primary platform available?
Honestly, down here, man, it's first come, first serve.
Nice.
So I mean, we're the only actual search and rescue department in all of the Florida Keys. So all the way down from Key West, all the way up to Key Largo. The nearest Coast Guard station is in Miami. That's 3 hours away from here, drive time. For them to fly out here, it takes them about an hour. So I mean, it's basically just who gets there first, or who finds the guy first. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've gone out looking for people, and then they show up on scene, and then we split up. So they go search an area, and then I go search an area. They end up finding the guy first and pulls him out.
So that, first of all, that's awesome. It's awesome that you've gotten that kind of an assignment, especially as a quote unquote shore duty assignment.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're spending a
Absolutely.
lot of time flying.
Yeah, I sure am.
Um, to back up a little bit to when we first met, I remember meeting you at aircrew school. You were already at SAR school. I think you were already at RSS down the road.
Okay.
I was waiting for my security clearance to pop. And I remember getting along with you because you knew my roommate, Paulie.
Yep.
You were buddies with Paulie.
Yep.
But you were also like one of the SAR guys who was there, who I remember was as dyed in the wool, like born to do this as I was. I mean, there were guys who were there to impress somebody. There were people who were there to, because they didn't make it through a different schoolhouse. But I remember meeting you and being really struck by the fact that you were a true water rescue professional. So I have to ask, where did that come from? Because obviously you've stayed in the game this long. You've worked yourself into position to get such a choice assignment. Like, where did the spark come from?
Honestly, man. So I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of water. I'm afraid of sharks. And before I was in the Navy, I was playing music out in Oregon, is where I'm from originally. Is Oregon, and I was in a band, and I wasn't making any money really, and I wanted to do something. I never even envisioned myself like being part of the military. It wasn't like really what I foresaw myself doing at all. And then so I was talking to my dad, and I was like, "Hey man, like I need to do something, dude. Like I'm not making any money. I'm literally living in a garage. Like I'm not doing anything with my life. What, like, do you have any ideas?" And he's like, "Oh, just do what I did, man." I'm like, "What'd you do?" Like my dad really never like talked about what he did whenever he was in the military. But he was like, "I was a rescue swimmer." And I was like, "No way, man. Really?" He's like, "Yeah, that's like what
How
I
old
did."
were you
When I joined?
when this conversation's happening?
I think I was 8, or I was maybe 19 years old. It was a year after I graduated high school.
How old are you now?
Oh man, I think I'm like 28 now. I don't know. I lost track, man. I was born in 80. Yeah, I'm 28.
28. All right. So that's I remember, it's funny because like I remember the part of you telling me your dad was a SAR swimmer
Yeah.
and being like, this is something I know I can and should do. So what was your experience like once you joined, right? Let's go to boot camp. You show up,
Oh
I'm
God,
assuming
boot
what
camp.
division were you? I was 847. What were you?
I was 845.
845. Okay, so 2 classes ahead of me. Do you remember any of your RDC's names?
Yeah. I forgot my chief's name. He's a master chief now, and he was a bad dude. And then I had a first class. He was a CT. And his
Ivan
last name was
Trado,
Chad.
the guy who used to kick people.
The guy who what?
Do you remember the instructor in the 800 barracks that used to like, he had like, would do taekwondo kicks and stuff?
Oh, God.
But he like, you remember that guy?
No, man, I've never heard of that guy.
Right, never mind. All right.
Sounds
Oh
hilarious.
yeah. Well, it's funny, like whether you remember or not. So you get to boot camp.
Yeah.
How many SAR swimmers were in your special division?
2.
2. So
Yeah.
Including you?
Including me, yeah.
Is that graduation number or like first day number?
That was there was like what, 80 something people in our division. There was only 2 swimmers. Me and this kid named Latona. I think his first name is Johnny. Me and Johnny.
Did
and
he
then
make it?
Yeah, he made it through. He was in my class.
Nice.
Yeah. And then everybody else was EOD, SEAL, and diver
contracts.
Yeah, like my whole class was full of that, and then we were just the 2 misfits, the 2 rescue swimmer guys.
So you get to boot camp, all of a sudden you realize that you're going to be in a very peripheral community.
Oh
like,
yeah.
What was your first impression when you got there?
God, dude, scared the shit out of me, honestly. I was scared because I've never been through something like that before. I was honestly, whenever I was growing up, like I never really put myself in like that much of I didn't put myself in that challenging of an environment ever before, except for like wrestling in high school. But that is nothing compared to, like the culture shock of you getting off that bus and just immediately getting screamed at boot camp. You're like, oh my God, like what did I get myself into? So it was definitely, I mean, I was basically on autopilot for like the first week or so. I had no idea what was going on.
So then you get through boot and you get to P-Cola.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'm sure you noticed, like I did, was holy shit, this is a dual chain of command,
Mhm.
which was like an automatic elevation in intensity. Like, what was your experience throughout the school system? Did you find yourself physically challenged more, mentally challenged? What was the hardest part?
I would say getting over like my fear of like water during rescue swimmer school. But what's
And
crazy
how
is
did you
like
do that?
they threw me in a pool, man, and they said go.
Where did it come from? Like, you have aquaphobia. Is there a triggering event that you remember? Did you
No,
almost
man.
drown when you
No,
were a kid?
no. I have no idea. I have no idea.
And it's
I,
all water. It wasn't just pools. Cause like I wouldn't swim in dark pools.
I think it was just like honestly, I think it started at the lake. Like I wasn't able to like see the bottom, and I think I was like, well, dang, like that's pretty scary, man. So like ever since then, it's just been kind of like a thing I've been having to deal with since I was a
Would
kid.
you still say that you're afraid of water?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I just know how to deal with it. I know how to swim now. I
How do
mean,
you manage that?
my dad taught me how to swim whenever I was a kid. Um,
Yeah.
and like I would have fun like going to the pool, and like I would always have fun. I don't know how I manage it. I just pretend like it's not there. Like I mean, I've been doing this for so long now that like every time they're like, Jake, jump out of the helicopter, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. I mean, it's really not even, I guess it's not really much of a fear anymore. It's just I don't even know how to explain it. It's just in the back of my mind. It's not at the forefront of every thought. Like, oh, am I going to drown? Am I going to drown? Like, what if this guy tries to attack me? Like, you know, I just know how to deal with it.
That's how I am, like here in Monterey Bay, whenever I swim or surf or stuff, because we have a lot
Yeah.
of white sharks in the area.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, I remember when I did my swim back in 2015, like the whole time, all I could think of was all I'm going to see is like some teeth and it's going to be over. So
Yeah,
like, at
dude.
least it's an ambush predator. If it were a tiger shark, it would like tear my calf out and then come in from a bicep. Like, those things are evil. White sharks just kill you.
Yeah, well, we got bull sharks down here, man. And let me tell you, I'll give you a real quick story down here. I was working with the Air Force guys. Like they were doing like water survival training or something like that, and so they had to like simulate like being out out in the ocean, and then having one of us like come and snatch them out, and then put them in a basket, send them up to the bird, right? And there's like 20 of them. And so we had them in a big group, and I grabbed one guy and I bring him out and put him up in the basket and bring him back down and swim back to the group of people. And no, I kid you not, dude, a huge silver shark just like swam right under me. And my other buddy that was he was the other rescue swimmer in the water. I was like, Jordan, we got to get out of here, man. He's like, why? And I was like, don't like, and I tried to be quiet so nobody could hear, so nobody freaked out. But I was like, there's a shark, dude. There's a shark. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, dude. And it's huge. We got to get out of here. And he's like, okay, we'll pop a flare. So I just popped the smoke, and then nobody ended up seeing it. So he still sat in the water for another like 15 minutes before they came and picked us up. But that was a close encounter for me. And it was crazy. I had my little SAR knife out and I was ready.
With no tip.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it so like I graduated from school in Jacksonville and we
Yeah.
were deploying. We left for deployment 3 days after I got back. So we got underway the day I got back to do the splash qual.
Yeah.
Because you have to splash. I don't know if you know, but for surface SAR, you have to splash down, or we call it splash down. Like, you have to go off the forecastle or out of a rib at least once within 30 days to lock your cert, right?
Oh,
to like,
really? Okay.
that like qualifies you with the region.
Gotcha.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of. So in like surface SAR school, they're always telling you, because I mean, logically, if you're in the water with people who are potentially injured, they're probably bleeding, which means there's probably sharks in the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having said that, there are not nearly as many sharks cruising around as everybody seems to think there are. They're less frequent than I think some people think.
Yeah.
But they told us that the operations specialist would research the local water and give us a report on whether we should anticipate sea predators in the area. And I remember being like, oh, okay. So the night before the day we get back, I go up to the OSs and I go, hey, so what's the deal? Do you know if there's sharks in the water? He's like, nope, we checked this morning. You should be fine. Jump in the water, look down. It's like crazy visibility. We're about 25 miles off the coast of Oahu. And I just see like, I don't honestly know how long it was anymore because my memory keeps making it bigger and bigger. But this just big side to side movement down there. I remember being like, I hate everybody on my ship so much right now. Just swam over, grabbed that dummy, dragged it, threw it back in. They're like, you want to do another one? I was like, yes, but that way.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
So is that the only shark you've ever bumped into out there?
The only shark that I've bumped into, like while swimming, yeah, out here. But like flying over, they're everywhere. You can see them everywhere. Most of them are nurse sharks, though. So I mean, but you're flying at like 100 feet, shark everywhere, man.
Now,
Absolutely
you're also
crazy.
an avid fisherman. Have you ever
Yeah.
had a shark come up to the boat while fishing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what do you guys usually see down there? Tigers, bulls?
No, like so a lot of reef sharks, and then lemon sharks, bull shark, and a lot of nurse shark.
So does that freak you out still, or have you like? Okay, let me try that again. I am also like afraid of sharks, right? Like
Yeah.
sharks scare me. But one of the ways that I have armored myself against that is to become as knowledgeable as possible about predation, behaviors, environment, like triggering behaviors, stuff like that. Have you also found that that's an empowering way to approach it, or have you more just gone the route of I'm going to put this in a box, I'm going to put it here, and I'm not going to address it for now?
Yeah, that's exactly what the latter. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it works differently for everybody. And I think a lot of people listening right now would be surprised to hear you be so candid about these things that scare you.
Yeah, man.
You know, I think
Yeah.
people picture rescue swimmers or anybody in a response job like that. And I think they think of you as being fearless.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and like talking to my pilots and everything, and they're like, Sonny, like, what do you like? You're afraid
That's
of
your call
water?
sign?
Yeah, Sonny. They're
Nice.
like, Sonny, like, what are you doing, man? You picked the wrong job. You're afraid of water and heights. I'm like, yeah. They're like, why did you do this? I'm like, well, got to get over your fears somehow. Face them head on. Just do it.
That's super gnarly. So now you're planning on transitioning out of the Navy soon?
Yeah, I sure am. Come February,
Okay.
hopefully. Yeah.
And what's your plan for after you get out?
I got a couple things that I'm looking at. So I really want to go back to San Diego. I loved it there, and I have family close to there, and my fiance, Jessica, she likes it down there in California as well. So we're planning on going there, and I want to go to school. So I'm going to be going to school down there full time, and then just working while I'm going to school, and she's going to be working, and hopefully she'll be up with school. So,
What are you going to be doing for work?
I don't know, man. I have no idea yet, but I know in Santa Barbara they have rescue swimmers out there, civilian rescue swimmers. So I might be moving up to Santa Barbara, applying for that job.
Have you ever considered a career in the fire department?
No, not really. I know like a couple of my buddies that have gotten out, they're firefighters and cops and everything, but like, I'd be fine with just going to school full time and maybe like being a bartender or something, man. I just need a break. My back hurts.
Yeah, oh, trust me, man. I hear you. I brought up the fire because, one thing that we've tried to do with this podcast is whenever we have a guest on, we try to really go through and cohesively lay out their process, what it took for them to earn their title, like what education and physical demands or mandates they needed to meet, but then also to talk about like kind of the sacrifice and commitment that it takes to keep that title.
Oh yeah.
So for you, you were in an 800 division, which means that you went through the Navy Special Operations screening process.
Correct.
For how many months in delayed entry?
How long was I in depth? I think I signed my papers in like February, and they told me that I wasn't going to ship out. Actually, I signed as an LS. Yeah. So I told them what I wanted. I told them I wanted to be a rescue swimmer, and they're like, well, we don't have any spots open right now, but your PRT kicks ass. Like, you're in top notch. Like, you're doing great, man. Like, if you sign this piece of paper as an LS and somebody drops out of the program, you'll be the next guy to go. We'll call you. And I was like, okay, fine. So I signed the piece of paper in February, and they're like, okay, well, if nothing pops up, you're going to be leaving in September. So I was like, okay, that's fine. They called me in July. So February, March, April, May, June, July. So 5 months I was in delayed entry. They called me in July, and they're like, hey, man, somebody dropped out. You want to go? And I was like, yeah, sweet. So September. And they're like, no, you're leaving next week for boot camp.
Yep.
And I was like, God dang, okay. So yeah. So 5 months.
So about 5 months in depth. Took about 2 years to get to the fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And now from there, you've been in the Navy another 6 years, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So over the course of that time, what kind of follow-on training and education have you gotten the opportunity to participate in?
Been like, so down here in Key West, we have 5 or 6, actually, I think 6 S&Ts, which is a SAR medical technician. So down here in Key West, in our helicopter, we fly with a crew chief, rescue swimmer, and a med tech, right? So down here, our med techs are very, very smart, and they're basically the equivalent of a paramedic. So we've been getting, as rescue swimmers, more than just BLS for medical. Like they teach us so much. Like I could intubate somebody, I could stick an IV in somebody. Like, I know how to do all these things because of all the training that they give us. Because they're only one person in the back of the bird, and if they're doing everything and we're just sitting down twiddling our thumbs, they want us to be actively engaged in what's going on in the aircraft medically, so we could help out more. So I would say a lot of medical training, more medical training than I've ever experienced before down here. And then I was going to school down here, working on my AA before the hurricane happened. And so, I mean, yeah, I was going to school. I was basically just going to school, medical training, man.
So in terms of follow-on rescue swimmer training, right? So if you're in the fire department, you'll go to these requalifiers, or you'll go earn a Swiftwater certification. Like, how many opportunities have there been for you? Because unlike fire or a lot of other gigs, right, aviation rescue has its own, has like a map for your career. So how hard was it for you to get additional rescue swimmer experience or training throughout this process?
It's actually pretty hard, man. It's hard to get extra stuff because, I mean, the funding to send somebody to like advanced rescue swimmer school, or rappel school or HIRA or anything like that is so hard because, I mean, we just don't have a lot of money, so it's hard for us. But I mean, I was able to go to SAR-PO school out in San Diego, which that is like almost like it's an instructor course, so that you can be the actual like standardization SAR petty officer for your squadron, the one guy that is the subject matter expert on everything that is SAR. So that was one school that I went to, and I still hold the position of SAR standardization petty officer at where I'm at right now, and I went through that course a few years ago.
Okay, and in terms of the sacrifices, right? Like, one thing, as I don't know if you know this, I don't know if we caught up on this or not, but like, I did my first deployment with a herniated L5 and impinged S1 nerve. You know what I mean? So I had like radiating pain through my right leg that eventually resulted in temporary muscular paralysis through the leg.
No way. Wow.
Hey, man, finished the deployment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because for me, at least, especially after getting dropped from air rescue over a security clearance, it was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to let this injury that happens on the first day of surface school compromise this contract that I've signed up for. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm in the Navy now for X amount of years. I'm here to be a rescue swimmer. So help me God, whatever it takes. The long-term consequences for that for me have been things like some mental health issues from repressing the pain and stuff like that, physiological issues, nerve damage, I occasionally limp. I'm not complaining about any of this. I'm just laying out that these are the consequences of the choice that I made. Like, what kind of physical sacrifices have you had to make to be a SAR swimmer, to stay on the front line of rescue?
I would say like the most recent thing that happened was I jumped. We were doing some training with I think some of the team guys. I forget which team, but I jumped and then I swam to a little rib that they had, and I went up and there was a dummy, like they're doing like moulage on a dummy, and I had to get that dummy back up to the bird. Right, helicopter flew over me. My crew chief lowered down the hook, and I hooked in, and the helicopter kept going forward, and it just jerked me and just messed up my back really bad. And but my crew chief was right on spot. Like, he noticed it as soon as that happened. He started paying out more cable, and that really, like alleviated all the pressure and everything like that. So I was able to get the dummy hooked up and then sent me back up. But I had to go to medical like 2 days later because my back was just killing me, and I've been going to physical therapy ever since.
And how long ago was that injury?
That happened maybe 6 months ago, maybe. Yeah.
And what about birthdays missed? The cost on relationships?
Yeah.
What has been the human cost of this career?
Well, I'm on my first deployment. I was young still. I was really young. Never been away from like America. I mean, I've been away from home at this point for like 2 years, but I was always just a phone call away, from calling my parents or calling whoever, my sisters. And I was out to sea, and we were River City, which means like we had no contact with the outside world. We were River City for like over 2 months, and then finally we were off River City. And like I said, I was young and I was homesick, and I didn't want to be on a boat because I was a nugget to begin with, which is like a new guy in the rescue swimmer community. Like, you're called a nugget, so you do all the work. Like, it's just really, really a lot. It was a lot for me to handle. And so once River City was over, I got back on the computer and had an email from my mom saying my grandpa died. And I talked to my LPO. His name is JP Gonzalez. He's a chief now. But I was like, hey man, I gotta go home. I gotta go home because I gotta go to my grandpa's funeral. And he was like, no, you're not going home, man. Sorry. And I was supposed to fly that day. That morning, actually, I was supposed to fly. And I was like, well, I'm not flying, man. I'm not doing this. I'm not in the right state of mind. He's like, Jake, listen, dude, I'm sorry for what's going on, but these jets that are taking off need you to be in the air just in case one of them goes down. So you need to compartmentalize. You're in the Navy. You're a big boy now. Get your shit together. Go get your SAR bag and get in the helicopter. I was like, okay. So I did. So, I mean, relationship wise, I was married at that point in time. And long deployments don't really work whenever you leave somebody. Well, at least the ones that I've experienced, relationships don't work if you're on a long deployment. So, my first,
especially when you're at River City.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to explain to somebody when you have no notice.
Yeah.
We're supposed to talk tonight. You don't hear from me for 2 months.
Yeah.
I have no way of legally or really any way of contacting you.
Yeah. There wasn't a way. And so, she ended up finding somebody else or whatever while I was gone. And I got home and,
got Jodied.
Yep. Yeah, sure did. And then, so her and I divorced, and, that was that. So
one of the reasons, and I appreciate you talking to us about this, and I know that it's not a comfortable thing, but like Drew talked to us about the time that he doesn't get with his kids, or the pressure that him and his wife, who's also in service, feel to manage and give the kids a full experience while also fulfilling their dreams and their career.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the things that I do when I mentor these kids and young people as they come to me and look for careers in the service communities, I always say it's important to not only consider the movies, right? Everybody wants active Valor. Everybody wants the Guardian. Everybody
Yeah.
wants high speed, low drag smash cut, and a lot of people aren't willing to do the shit work that it takes to get there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
I get a ton of lifeguards every year that come to me and say, I'm going to be a rescue swimmer. And I say, are you ready to give 100% of yourself to get 1% return on doing this thing? Because maybe there's a 1% chance you'll ever get to do it. There are people, you have more rescues as a lifeguard than you will ever get in the Navy. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. And these kids, I think that it's important for all of us that have been through these experiences to be transparent about the human cost. Because,
Yeah.
that was a big influence on me getting out of the Navy. I wanted a dog. I wanted a relationship. And I just saw how hard it was for everybody else to maintain those,
Yeah. And dude, it doesn't get any easier. Let me tell you. I've been in 9 years now, and it's still, it's struggle. My fiance lives on the other side of the country, man. She lives in Oregon. I live down here in Key West. So, it's still rough, but just got to make it work. You get used to it after a while.
Absolutely. And as we've talked about a little bit, and as I've talked about with some of our previous guests, if you are truly motivated and if you have enough perspective to not just see what's happening right now, but how that's been influenced by the past and how you can now influence the future, that's really the key to spinning all of these experiences into success at the next level. Yeah. I don't know if you agree with that. So I want to get deep nerdy on one topic real quick.
Okay.
We love fins. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to hear any of the previous episodes, but Joe, my co-instructor, and my fellow instructor and I have had now almost 2 hours of audio debate about like fins. I obviously think the jet fins are God's gift to humanity. But if I'm not willing to wear booties, I tend to prefer like the MS Viper or a Yucca extra stiff fin. What is your preferred working fin and off-duty fin?
Good question, man. So I'm pretty small, man. I'm like 140 pounds. I'm a really small rescue swimmer, right? So rockets, they're stiff, they're hard, it's like swimming with wood planks on your feet, and it sucks.
Yep.
Right. So for me, I like the mini jets. I like the small jets, man, because I could kick and I could go, and I think they're way more. They move a lot better in the water for me.
Yeah, you have a lot more lateral flexibility to do things like rocket fins are great for unidirectional movement, but not for treading or any kind of sustained where you have to do work above the surface with your hands, like manipulating a craft or a parachute or something. Like, God, doing that with rocket fins on must like shred your patellas.
Well, during rescue swimmer school, like we had the parachute tread, we had to hold a parachute above the water for like 45 minutes or something like that, something ridiculous. And I had rockets on, and I started like cramping up in my right leg. And I was like, oh no, I'm only like 15 minutes into this. Like, this is going to suck. And then all of a sudden, like my rocket fin, honestly, like the strap broke off, and my rocket just fell right off my foot. And I was like, oh my God, not only do I have a cramp, but my fin's broken. Oh man. I'm telling you, I hate rockets. Hate them.
When you rock your jets, do you do spring heels or rubber heels?
Rubber.
Yeah, I prefer rubber too.
Yeah.
I switched to spring though a few years ago. A buddy of mine who is in the Army, he's a helicopter pilot in the Army, put it to me really well. He said there is a much lower fail percentage on a steel spring heel than a rubber heel.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a really good point.
No, dude, for real, it is. But like I said, in the Navy, it's hard to get funding for, stuff that isn't really standard. Like, honestly, right now, like, yeah, I prefer jets, but in my SAR bag, I got rockets.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is one thing I definitely noticed about Pensacola versus Jacksonville. We all left with jets.
Really?
Everyone had to wear jets in Jacksonville. Yeah.
Yeah. They gave us rockets. I have no idea why, but yeah, it's a pain. I hate it.
And what about off duty? Are you a surfer, bodyboarder, anything like that?
Spearfisher. Yeah.
And what do you wear for that?
I wear mares. Have you heard of those? MARES?
And what type of fin from that
It's
company?
it's not a long fin. It's I mean, it's a pretty malleable fin. It's very, very flexible. It has like rubber inlays, so it
Is it
makes,
split?
yeah. Oh no, it looks like it would be split, but where the split, it's a triple split, but in the split there's little rubber, like a little. It looks like webbed feet, basically.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super rad, super rad. And I got these low profile booties as well that I wear with those because I prefer wearing booties. Um,
I used to too until I started body surfing.
oh yeah, well, I
Like,
mean that's a totally different game, man.
yeah, it's just the other thing is one thing that I've really enjoyed about being a civilian is like my athlete's foot finally went away that I had for 4 years.
That's good. Yeah.
I tried to tell somebody that like becoming a rescue swimmer in the Navy is essentially guaranteeing that you're going to have athlete's foot for the duration of your time, because you spend so much time in those damn booties. It feels like.
Yeah, you do spend a lot of time in the booties, but I never got athlete's foot, man. I think the one thing that I did get while I was there was I got, it wasn't what was it? It was some sort of um rash kind of thing, but the rash like went away, but it took all the pigment out of my skin. It was so weird. And
Oh, you
they
had skin bleaching.
yeah, so yeah, that's what it was, man. And it was absolutely like I just looked like a weirdo.
They call that in Hawaii. They called that Halle burn, which I'm
Halliburn.
sure is offensive and we're not supposed to say anymore, but who cares? So it's funny, like you guys had Starboard D, and
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and tell us about Starboard D real quick for our listeners?
Honestly, man, Starboard D was a little closet that all the people that are standing by to go through rescue swimmer school who
No, no,
already
no, no,
went.
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no, no. I meant on a deployment.
oh, on a deployment. Okay, yeah. So they called like before you go to rescue swimmer school, Starboard D, because you're like
Oh
waiting,
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
anyway, so Starboard D on deployments would be um, during air operations. If the jets are off deck and they're flying around, you have to stay on the right side of the boat doing this big D pattern for hours until they come back, just in case one of them pops out and ejects. Then you could be right on scene right then and there.
So now that was from a carrier platform, just to clarify for everybody back home. Now I was on a small boy platform. Do you use Starboard D on amphibs too?
I was only on a gator.
Okay, so yeah, on an amphib you
Yeah,
had that.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. And then my
So
other deployment, we didn't do Starboard D at all because we were the only air asset.
when you said jets, that threw me off because when I hear jets, I assume that is a. But you could be talking about Harriers, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's all we had was Harriers.
When yeah, we'll get into Harriers another day. But yeah, so when we did air ops with you guys, like with various air rescue assets, it's
Hmm.
weird on the small platforms because whereas on Gators and aircraft carriers, they can have a SAR bird in the air or probably already have a bird in the air pretty much instantaneously. Isn't that right? You guys usually
Yeah.
have somebody up.
Oh yeah.
Whereas on a ship, like it takes like 28 to 30 minutes to launch a helo. So the surface rescue swimmers were often the primary rescue swimmers in line. Now I didn't get any rescue calls off the boat,
You
but I
trying to
did
one up
find it.
me here, dude?
No, 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 no. But it was one of the great like blessings I think that the Chiefs mess hooked me up with when they cut me from air rescue. I don't know if they did it or not. Maybe this is all in my head, but to get placed, I requested aircraft carrier, amphib, and as a joke, I wrote frigate. And I wrote San Diego, Washington, and as a joke, I put Hawaii. And they put me on a frigate in Hawaii that needed a SAR swimmer.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude, so it was like a sick hookup. But I bring all this up because for us, like we would also get called out, not just for air ops, but like anytime there were boat ops, they would
Mhm.
usually want a SAR swimmer in the
Yeah.
boat and the secondary standing by on deck. So we're like in the South China Sea in the Philippines. There's no air conditioning because the boat's older than I am. And I'm like running around. The first day I was wearing my UDTs and a SAR t-shirt and booties and I was comfortable. I was fine. The captain got pissed and I had to wear a wetsuit for the next like
Oh,
6 days straight.
damn.
Yeah, dude, that athlete's foot stayed with me forever.
That sucks, dude. Yeah,
um,
I'm lucky I never had that problem, I guess.
that's cool. What about medical calls? What's your most memorable medical call?
Um, A medevac that I had that was like probably the gnarliest one was there's two that stick out. On my first deployment was the first time I ever really saw like trauma on somebody. A guy like chopped his hand off, and we had to medevac him off the boat to some sort of like where did we medevac him to like the Mercy or something like that. I forget
Yeah,
exactly
floating
where.
hospital.
Yeah, exactly. So he chopped his hand off, and like I I was just like blown away. I was like, oh my god. And so they wrapped him up. We hooked him up with an IV. Got him in the bird, and that made me feel pretty good because I was the person that helped in the back to get him to that higher echelon of care. But like I would say the most intense um, medevac that I've had was there was a chief SEAL that we were working with. We were working with a whole group of, I think it was like Team 3, and they had like 5 guys in the back of my bird, 2 dogs. So we were doing like practice insertion stuff. So we landed like next to this building, and then they got out, and then they went up this building, and it was nighttime. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they went up, and he fell down all the stairs, whacked his face on the concrete, broke both of his legs, and they're like, hey, we have an actual emergency, you guys need to come here. We already took off, we were flying around waiting for him to be done. They're like, hey, the next, like there's an actual emergency going on, you guys need to land, take this guy. So we landed, I got out, helped put him on the litter and everything like that, and then got him back to the bird. And dude, that guy was messed up, but it was so crazy because he just had a great attitude the whole time. Like he was in so much pain, but he was like just yelling at us like, thank you guys so much, thank you. And then we drop him off at the hospital. I walk in and like give a pass down of like his injuries and what happened and everything to the doctors, and he was just laying there. He's like, yo man, thank you so much, like next, like whenever I'm out of here, and I'll buy you a beer or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. But yeah, so that was, and his teeth were all gone. Oh, man, that guy was so messed up, man. But he was smiling the whole time. But it was really cool. It's like the feeling of like helping somebody get to that higher echelon of care is really, it's a good feeling.
What would you say that your rescue swimmer experience in the Navy has been unique? Because it sounds like you've spent a lot of time at some very special commands. What?
Yeah, actually. I was actually part of a yeah, it's very unique. I got really lucky with everything that I've got to do. I was actually deployed on a frigate. Like I said, we were the only air asset. It was just, we had 2 birds.
Oh, both your hangars worked?
Yeah, we got
nice.
lucky.
We had one hangar that was just a weight. Our Master Chief, who's now like a Fleet Master Chief, Chief Danforth, Matthew Danforth. I'm sure anybody listening right now, people might have heard of him, but he was like, we are turning this entire helo hangar into a gym, free weights, like elliptical. Awesome. It was lit. Dude. It was so lit. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No worries, man.
So you were on a frigate platform.
Yeah.
So you had to deal with all that bullshit of frigate life.
Yeah, honestly, it was way better than Gator life.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love the frigate way more. Well, I mean, for one,
your guys' schedule was pretty chill on frigates.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my only job was to fly.
Yeah.
And we were working hand in hand with the Coast Guard guys doing interdiction, like drug interdiction. So, dude, we stopped a lot of drug smugglers that deployment, and we were gone like maybe 6 months. But
what frigate were you with? You went on a crack pack, right?
Yeah. I was on the FFG 41, the McCluskey.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were on a ship. So that ship was probably made in 1984.
Yeah.
How crazy.
Yeah. Dude, it was falling apart. By the time we were done, that was its last cruise, and we just gave it to like Mexico or something. I think after we got back. Yeah. But
same with my old platform, bro. It was literally commissioned the day before I was born.
Dang.
Damn it, this boat is old.
Yeah, it makes us feel old, man.
Yeah. So you got this great crack pack opportunity through HSC 23. How did you end up getting to work with as part of an expeditionary command? Did you have to score higher than other people in the schoolhouse? Did you get to pick your orders? Were you told where to go? How did that work?
So after A school, you had to be top in your class, right? To actually like pick your orders. And oh wait, no. It was in frac. You have to be, so out in Virginia is where you pick your orders for your first command. So my class, by the time I was done with school and everything like that, my class, there's 5 of us left out of everybody. So we got 5 sets of orders, and there was one to HSC 23, one to HSC 21, one to I think HSC 28, and then another, like a couple to HSC 26. So there are like 3 that were on the East Coast and 2 on the West Coast. And I asked the guys, I was like, hey, you guys mind if I go to San Diego? And they're like, oh yeah, dude, go ahead. So it just, it's not really about being the best in your class, because no matter what, somebody's going to help you out, and somebody's really going to understand like where you're coming from, and like prioritize, like maybe he should go to the West Coast, like, because there is a big difference between the West Coast and the East Coast, you know what I mean, in the search and rescue community. But so I picked 23. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was going to be an air ambulance kind of thing, like going out to the NAD, but I got there and they're like, you're going on a shit, buddy. So I got there, got qualified, got sent out to sea like 6-7 months after I got there.
And then from there, like how have you been able to get all these great, like how'd you get Key West? How did you keep spinning things forward?
Okay, so I got Key West because my old LPO got down here before I did. He got down here like a year before I did. And I was up for orders, and there was a spot out in China Lake, which is in California. They're like, hey, we need you. Will you go to China Lake? And I was like, I really don't want to go to China Lake. Like, I'm already applying for these other orders. And I applied for the orders to Key West. And I talked to my old LPO. He's still down here. His name's Jimmy Robinson. And I talked to him, and I was like, hey, man, I put in orders to go to Key West. Is there any way you can help me out? And he's like, oh, yeah. So he went and talked to whoever's in charge down there, because they get to like accept the orders that you put in. And I guess like 5 or 6 people applied for the same orders I did, but they're like, yeah, we'll get him. So they picked me. And then once that happened, I had 9 months left at 23, and then I just drove all the way down here. Been here ever since. So I got really lucky, man. It's all about who you know. It's really all about who you know, and luck, a little bit of luck too.
See, it's interesting. It sounds like you're being a little humble there, because you grazed over the fact that in the beginning, only 5. How many kids started RSS with you? How many kids were in your RSS class to start? 20?
Oh no, we probably had 30.
30.
Yeah.
You said 5 graduated and got orders.
Well, 15 graduated rescue swimmer school, and then from
but
there
5 made it.
Yeah,
right?
5 made it all the way through. All out of my whole class, there's only 5 that actually like made it all the way through the pipeline.
And that's something that a lot of people lose focus on, is that you can get through rescue swimmer school, you can get through BUDS, you can get through these special schoolhouses, but there's still steps to go, and it's about being an operational asset, not about being a schoolhouse asset. So only 5 of your 30 guys graduate, so you're already proving yourself there. It sounds like you worked hard enough at 23 that your LPO wanted you to be in Key West. So that was kind of what I was getting at, is that it sounds like you've been like really working on, it sounds like you have put your nose to the grindstone, even when it hasn't been ideal, and found a way to check the boxes to get what you want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting what you want, right?
Not if you work hard for it, man.
Who was the most influential person on you as a rescue swimmer and as a water rescue professional? Was it your father? Was it a specific instructor? Was it a movie? Was it an experience?
It was an instructor. His name's John Herman. Yeah, he scared the shit out of me, and he really motivated me. And him and I, like, he was one of my instructors at rescue swimmer school. And as soon as I graduated rescue swimmer school, he looked me in the eye. He's like, "You're my brother, man." Like, and we've been friends ever since. I actually just went up to Jack's to go see him a couple months ago. because he just had a baby. So I went, like, he was very inspirational and really helped me out like through everything. And he's always been there for me. He was, I mean, he came down to Oregon to visit me one time whenever I was there on leave. Like, he's just a great guy, very humble. He broke his back actually, so he's not a rescue swimmer anymore. But he's still in. He's just I think he's like an AW. Oh God, he's gonna kill me if I don't know this. I don't know. He flies in
Don't
fixed
forget,
wing.
man.
Yeah.
We're always rescue swimmers. We're just not active.
Yeah, exactly. And like, he got hit by a BP truck and broke his back. And he spent like a year recovering or something like that. And he never quit, man. He's very inspirational to me. He's an amazing guy. Amazing guy. I hated his guts going through rescue swimmer school, but because of that, I love him. I love him to death.
Do you remember Petty Officer Middleton?
Yeah, I do. Middleton he was just checking in there basically whenever I was getting ready to leave. But yeah, I remember
And
him.
he was with me in backlog.
Oh yeah.
And he sought me out real quick and was like, "Get over here, chubby boy." And he introduced me to CrossFit. He introduced me to the idea of professionalism on and off duty in a way I'd never considered it before.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude, like, between uniform inspections and everything, that guy screwed with me so hard while I was at air rescue school. I won every single uniform inspection I was in for the rest of my career because of that man. I always got the liberty, dude. I always got the liberty. Like, he's an officer now. He's a pilot. He's doing his thing in the Navy. But it's funny how there was always that one person we looked up to that really set the bar for what we had to accomplish.
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. After how long ago was that I went through Star School? Like, almost
10 years ago.
It was like 9 years ago. And that guy is still like he's one of the biggest inspirations I've ever met.
What want to tell us about one of your most memorable rescues that you've ever gotten to do?
All right. Yeah. So there I was. Okay. This was June. It happened June 7th of last year, actually. So we have morning crew and PM crew, right? For if in case we get a call, the morning crew, if it's like until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if there's a call, the morning crew will take it, and then the evening crew takes over at 2 or 1 o'clock until whenever. And so I got into work, and it was like, I think maybe 6:45. We briefed, went out, and I was supposed to be the crew chief that day, and we went out to the bird, pre-flighted, spun up, got it all set and everything. And I get back inside and I sit down on the couch and I just like start, maybe I like turned on the TV or something, and I get a phone call from one of my pilots. His name's Tim. He's like, "Yo, Jake, you guys got a call. You got to go out to the bird right now." I was like, "Are you messing with me?" He's like, "No, get out to the bird." I'm like, "Oh God, okay." So I told my my crew, I was like, "Hey, we got a call." And then Tim actually sent me a text of what was going on, like the actual like scenario, like what it was. And from the text, I got that it was a middle-aged male on a big shrimping boat that woke up like vomiting blood, was partially paralyzed. So he was paralyzed from the waist down. He was delirious. He wasn't making any sense. So he was just a wreck, basically. And the weather was bad outside. It was raining. There's clouds everywhere. It was a bad scenario. I get down to the locker room to get my gear and everything. And my swimmer comes in, and it was actually Jimmy Robinson, my old LPO that actually got me down here. He came in. I was like, "Jimmy," and he's like, "What's up, man?" I was like, "You mind if I be the swimmer today?" And he's like, "You want it?" I was like, "Hell yeah, give it to me."
Yeah.
He's like, "Absolutely, man. Go ahead, get your gear on." I was like, "All right." So put on my UDT shorts and my t-shirt, my TriStar, get out to the bird. We fly out. There's a huge storm in between us and where the guy was. So we flew IMC like through the clouds to get to this guy. We get there, and it's this huge shrimping boat with all these huge nets and like outriggers, and it was a mess. And I was like, "How am I going to get in there?" And I was like, "Okay, well, just jump me right next to the boat, and I'll go over, and I'll like climb up the back or something." And so I get to the door, I take off my helmet, get ready to jump. My crew chief, Jimmy, he like tapped me on the shoulder or on the chest to release my gunner's belt, right? So I released my gunner's belt. I'm getting ready to jump. And then he looked at me and he looked in the water and like pulled me back inside. And he's like, no, man. I was like, why? And he puts his hand on his head like this. And he's like, there's sharks out there. And I looked down, no shit. There's like 15, 20 sharks just circling this big shrimping boat. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, all right, well, just put me down the line and like, you know, set me somewhere. And there's this like big basket at the aft end of the ship. And they're like, I'll just put you down there. And I was like, okay. So I hook up, I get sent down. The weather's bad. The pilots have a hell of a time seeing like calling their drift and everything like that. So they're all over the place. I almost smacked right into a big outrigger and like twice. I think that happened twice. And then they're like, we're not going to put you back there, man. We're going to like I looked up at my crew chief and he was like pointing like where he's going to put me. And I was like, okay. So he lifted me back up a bit and he ended up putting me on top of the pilot house. And it was just like this big pilot house. And you have to remember it was raining and the helicopter builds up so much static electricity from the rotor blades that whenever I hit the pilot house, I got knocked to my feet or to my knees, man. So it electrocuted me so bad. And I like yelled. I was like, oh God. I fall to my knees. I unhook. And he sends the hook back up. And then I go, I like climb down off of this pilot house. And I'm like still like shaking from getting electrocuted. And there's a lady right there. And she was like, hey, yeah, he's in here. He's in here. So I finally get him. I get to the guy. And I was like, hey, man, can you hear me? And he's like kind of responsive, kind of like he was just out of it a little bit. But I was like, hey, you need to tell me what's going on. Like, you know, and so I just got like basically what everything was wrong with him. And I was like, okay, man, so listen, we're going to have to get you up in the helicopter. And he's like, well, where's everybody else? He's like, are you it? I was like, what do you mean? Am I it? Yeah, I'm like, everybody else is in the bird waiting for you. And he's like, you're really like, how are you going to, like, I thought there was going to be more people to help. And I was like, no, man, it's just me. And cause he just looked at me, he's like, you're it? And I was like, yeah.
Thanks,
I'm like, you know, I'm little. And I was like, hey man, so listen, we're going to have to get you on top of the pilot house or we're going to have to go swimming with sharks. I was like, you decide what you want to do. And he's like, there's no way I'm getting into that water. I was like, all right, well, let's get your feet moving and let's get you up on this pilot house. So it took me a little bit to get him up to the pilot house. And then I called down the litter and then the litter hit the deck. Once I finally got him up to the pilot house and as soon as I touched the litter, I got electrocuted again. I unhooked the litter, put him in the litter. And then, I called down the hook again. Hook came down, the boat swung, the hook hit me in the chest, electrocuted me again. And I yelled and the guy was like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, don't worry about it. So I hook him up to the litter and I was like, all right, man, are you ready? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm going to stay here. And cause I had to like man the trail line so that the litter didn't spin, you know? And he's like, wait, you're not coming up with me? And I was like, no, man, but I promise, like, you'll be up there and I'll be up there in a minute. I just have to stay down here so I can help. And he was like, okay. And then the boat took a rock again. And then he just got he got jerked up off of the pilot house. But like I said, my crew chief, we're pretty good at hoist operating. So he lifted him up without any incident.
In a storm,
yeah, I know.
You have two unstable platforms with atmospheric effects. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. It was absolutely, it was scary, man. It was a really scary, like, I never thought that I was going to have a rescue like that. You know, I thought it was going to be the jump in the water, go get a lost kayaker, send him up to the bird, boom, you know, done for the day. But this one was just, there's so many factors. But anyway, so he got up to the bird. They sent the hook down. I hooked up. Luckily, I didn't get electrocuted again. And then I got brought up to the bird and then did a medical assessment while we were in the bird with the SMT. I helped doing the medical stuff while we transported him to the hospital. It turns out the guy had a broken back. And so we were really lucky that, you know, I was able to get him on the litter and transport him like without hurting him further. So it was pretty it was a very intense rescue, and I got home, was exhausted, but yeah, that was probably the most intense thing I've ever had to do in the Navy was that one rescue.
Jesus, man, that's
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah, and the
Talk
guy's
about
name was Andrew.
lucky you though. Like at least you finally got that legit
Yeah.
hardcore SAR story that you'll have for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. You
Oh
know
yeah. And you know who the first person I told was whenever I got home?
who?
John Herman.
Of course.
Yeah.
You
I
texted
called
me
him.
too, if I remember correctly.
I probably did, man.
I remember,
I was,
dude. I don't know, man. That's fucking sick. Hey,
yeah, it
before I let
was.
you go, there's one other thing I forgot to ask you about. What's it like
Yeah.
being a SAR swimmer in Key West when like Harvey hits? When a hurricane hits?
Well, so Irma is what hit us. We got evacuated until the hurricane left, and then we were the first
To
responders
where?
back.
Where'd you guys go?
Well, I went back to Oregon to visit my fiance.
Nice.
But everybody else went up to, like, I think Pensacola. A couple guys went to Pensacola. Some other guys went to like Georgia or something like that.
Yeah.
We all got spread out, honestly. And then after the hurricane went through, they came right back, and like it was crazy. It was like a ghost town here, man. Like there was only first responders that were here. So it was us like doing like recoveries, or like looking for anybody in the water or something
Let's
like
clarify
that, or
real
bringing.
quick. Let's clarify.
Mhm.
When we talk about recoveries, the dirty and unfortunate side of our job is a big part of our job
Yeah.
is body
Mhm.
recovery. So
Yeah.
that was of something that you were having to do during the post hurricane.
I personally didn't have to do that part, and so I got lucky there. But but that was a part of the hurricane of what we had to do. Yeah.
The mission
But me
profile.
personally, I was. Yep. Exactly. And I mean, honestly, like you get more of that than you do rescues down here,
Yeah.
especially like, I mean, there's just that jet crashed like a month ago, where both aviators were passed away, and that was us who recovered them. And it was just a very, very, very sad and very scary time, to be a rescue swimmer. And just recovering those pilots was just um, I personally didn't have to recover them, but I was there on scene. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to deal with, like like mentally. And the best thing you could do is just be there for your boys that had to go through that experience. And because they joined the job the same as you to do the thing and to save lives, and they didn't get to save lives that day, but they did get to bring those aviators to their families, and they weren't lost at sea or anything like that. So you got to look at the the bright, or not really the bright side, but the
Silver lining for sure.
exactly. So that was, it's hard dealing with that kind of stuff. And it just, like I said, it just messes you up, but like I said, you do your job, you do it for both the good and the bad parts.
Yeah, when I was a younger water rescue professional, my motto and my saying would always be like, no one's ever died on my shift. No one's ever died on my watch.
Right.
And I stopped saying that for the same reason I stopped answering people when they would be like, oh, you were in the military. Did you kill anybody? Because regardless of whether or not I've been exposed to that experience of a patient dying on me, or of being in a situation where I was required to take someone's life, because of my job, out of respect for everybody else in the community, I choose not to answer those questions. Does that make sense? Like, and I choose not to say kind of callous things like nobody's ever died on my shift, because sometimes you can't help it. And
yeah, exactly.
The ugly side of being a first responder is you are almost always battling the clock, no matter what. And
absolutely,
Father Time is undefeated when it comes to, I don't know how to put this, when it comes to humbling all of us,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely one of the darker sides of the life that I don't think people realize is how much of our job is preparing for. And even, I remember in school in Jacksonville and sitting in the brief, and they were like, even if it's a foot, even if it's a forearm, even if it's a bone fracture, like anything that you find in the water that you can recover and bring home gives closure to
Yeah,
someone
exactly.
or other people somewhere else, or gives their family the death benefit. And, you know, I remember never considering that throughout
Yeah.
my enlistment process until I actually got there.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's very humbling.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize that, hey, we're not invincible. We're all humans. Like I said, like I may be a rescue swimmer, but I'm scared shitless of some things. Uh,
I
but I still
never
do
would
my
have
job and I
guessed,
do it. Yeah.
never would have guessed that you had a fear of heights or that you had aquaphobia. Never would have
Yeah.
guessed
Yeah.
that based off of knowing you before and like what I've seen of you since then.
Yeah.
That was really interesting to hear from you today.
Yeah.
What do
It's
you do
pretty
for
gnarly, man, to think about it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm terrified of sharks.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of sharks. I
Yeah.
just learned how to manage my issues,
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do for fitness? How do you stay healthy? How do you stay trim?
Oh man. Well, honestly, like I said, I got a little bit of a beer belly right now, but but whatever. I most of the time I just run. I'm a runner. And so like I don't really lift weights. I run a lot. I've done two 100-mile relay races since I've been down here.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was pretty cool. But I usually just run. I mean, I went to the pool twice last week, just swam a bit, but that's
And when you're in
basically,
the
I just
pool,
do
are
a lot
you
of
finned
cardio.
or unfinned?
It depends. If I want to do like practice my like disentanglements and stuff like that, then I'll get up. But if I just want to swim for a workout, I won't be thin. Yeah.
Cool.
And that's honestly like really all I do to stay in shape is just run and
Huh.
swim.
Cool. One of the great things is like we've had all these people on who have talked about different stuff. Like Master Chief Dan Rich came on and talked about how he's really into cardio kickboxing, like as his way of
Okay.
maintaining fitness. Drew talked about like doing all this crazy training outdoors. Like it's interesting. We all have different systems that worked for us. When you were deployed on
Hmm.
a small platform, whether it be a frigate or a amphib, what did you do while you were out there to maintain your physical fitness?
Oh, I worked out almost every single day. I
Like
was
how?
lifting weights heavy.
Lifting,
Yeah, I was lifting a lot. I was lifting a
presses,
lot.
deads.
Yeah, man, I was doing the Murph a lot too because we had treadmills. So I would do the Murph at least 4 times a week.
Did you say
And I would
the
do the
Murph?
Murph. Yeah, the Murph. You know what that is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would do that. By the time I was done with that deployment, I was doing a Murph and then I would go work out. I was jacked, dude. I was weighing like 156 pounds, like just solid muscle. It was great. It was awesome. Came home, looking fly.
And why haven't you stayed on that pace?
Because I prefer running. And
Yeah.
honestly, like I like running. I just love it.
I've tried to explain to people before, like I love to row. I really do. And I love to row on like a concept two. And I only like it because of the time that I invested on a cruiser and a frigate rowing, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the
The row
hundreds
machines.
of
Yeah.
thousands of kilometers I accumulated over those multiple deployments. But I've also tried to explain to people that I don't row on land like I did on the ship. There's just certain stuff that when you're in a confined space or in a
Yeah.
deployed state of mind that like I used to get off on training in the helo hangar because I'd be like, how badass of a gym is this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, my hands hurt from doing push-ups on non-skid, but there's like people paying a fortune like back on the mainland to go to some CrossFit gym, and I'm out here
Yeah.
in the
And
zone.
honestly, man, you're out there just killing time. You work out to kill time to just get home sooner, because when you're in the gym, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about lifting weights. You're thinking about the music you're listening to. You're not thinking about being on a stupid shit for 6 months at a time. It helped me like forget, at least for a couple hours where I was.
One of the pictures that I'm going to release with this episode is the gym that I used to train in on the cruiser I was on.
Okay.
And that is the only part of that ship that I miss on like a regular basis. Like there's
Yeah, I
nothing
feel
about ship life that I miss, but the view from the O3 level where we had our welded pull-up bar and when we'd bring the concept twos up there and you'd be rowing. So it felt like you were rowing the ship. Oh, dude,
Yeah,
it was
that's sick.
awesome. It was sweet. Before I let you go, is there anything like that you want to put out there to our audience? Most of our audience they're firefighters, they're first responders,
Yeah.
they're younger people in their career, or we even have people who listen to us that are like doing like hikes in the Pacific Northwest or on their way to go surf. Like, what are the parting shots from Jake that you want to put out there?
I would say if somebody tells you you can't do it and it's something that you want to do, prove them wrong. It's the most satisfying thing in the world is proving people wrong that say that don't have faith in you or say that you can't do it. And all the way going through, from whenever I decided I wanted to be a rescue swimmer, so many people were like, "Oh, you can't be a rescue swimmer, man. You can't. There's no way. Look at how little you are." I was like 120 pounds maybe. And I
Yes,
was
you
like,
were.
I was tiny, yeah. And now I'm like 140. I got a little beer belly going on, but that's all right.
Dude, I weighed 100 pounds more than you when I met you. You were the
Damn.
skinniest kid at school, and I think I was the fattest kid. So
Yeah. I would say just don't give up, man. Don't give up. Do what you want to do. And if it's something that you really feel passionate about and you want to save lives, you know what? God damn it. Go save lives, man. Do what you have to do so that others may live,
fuck yeah, man. I mean, so others may live. Like that's why we do this stuff. That's why we train when we don't want to. That's why we sacrifice our personal lives in ways that most people don't understand. And I want to thank you, first of all, so much for taking the time with us today and for your incredible candor with our audience. They will benefit from having the opportunity to hear about your experience.
Yeah, man. Well, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. So we've talked about this a little bit off air, but for those of you guys who are listening, as Jake mentioned, he may potentially be moving to San Diego soon. And as those of you who listen to the podcast regularly know, we're going to be offering a remote class in Mendocino on either the 19th or 20th, whatever day the water rescue rodeo does not go off in Northern California. We're going to offer a CAP class on the alternate day. But once Jake sets up down in San Diego, we're going to be going down there to visit him and hopefully offering a remote class down there. And you never know, you just might see a SAR certifying official up in front of the class in a pair of UDTs passing out some knowledge. What do you say, Jake? You think we could get you out there for a group?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think that'd be fun.
Cool. So just a little bit of a preview for what you guys have to look forward in the future. We're going to be bringing together firefighter rescue swimmers, military rescue swimmers, civilian rescue swimmers. We're going to bring everybody together, and we're going to try and build the most complete and cohesive curriculum that we possibly can. And interviews like this are a great way for our audience to get to know you, and a great way for you to kind of be promoted for all the work you've been through, man.
I was going to say, I just appreciate the opportunity. Honestly, it was good to catch up with you, man. We haven't really talked that much in a couple of years.
Hell
So
yeah.
it was great to finally get together and actually shoot the shit,
Yeah, back in 2014 when I started Apex Predator Athletics, I reached out to you because I was publishing like articles from different people, and I remember saying like I wanted to start sarswimmer.com or create some kind of a central hub. And it took a few years, but I'm really excited that we're finally gathering people together to share best practices and put stuff out there. Like, it's really cool to work with Santa Cruz lifeguards and also get the opportunity to know that information's transferred from, what we learned while we were deployed here, or what we learned from this schoolhouse, or what we learned from the time that we invested professionally outside of work. So cool. All right. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank Jake once again for appearing with us today. Before I let you go, what's your social media handle on Instagram?
I think it's just at Jake Sonnier. I believe that's it. So
SONNIER.
Yeah. So it's at JAKESONNIER.
And that's going to be in the show notes for those of you who are listening to us on iTunes. Don't forget to tell a friend, share this with a friend, share this interview with as many people as possible. Anyone you know that's interested in becoming a rescue swimmer. If you have any questions, please contact me on Instagram at LE_ORCA or at Coastal Athlete Program. Thank you again for joining us. This has been the Coastal Athlete Program, and we're out.